This has turned into a pretty epic day.
I know, and we're just getting started too.
South Texas is filled with amazing locations to go to and extremely rare birds to see. Out of all of the places to find unique species, one has risen above the rest in recent months as a premier must-visit destination, the Santa Margarita Ranch. The Santa Margarita Ranch is privately owned, and the only way to access the property is to book one of the guided tours. With extreme ABA rarities like brown jay, bare-throated tiger heron, and mottled owl on the property, the tours fill up remarkably fast. We were lucky enough to have the chance to join one of the groups to see what the expansive ranch is like and hopefully find all of these target birds. We started out before sunrise. Hey everyone, this is Ryan and Derek from Badgerland Birding, and today we're at one of the hottest destinations in the United States right now for birding, and that is the Santa Margarita Ranch in South Texas. So there's a bunch of rare stuff that's shown up here, and it's just one of the go-to places for birding at the moment, and as you can see, it's right next to the border wall. So we're going to see what species we can find and hopefully pick out some rarities here. In the shadow of the border wall, we listened to the day's agenda as the sun was starting to rise. We then made our way into the ranch, walking to our first destination.
We're on our way to our first bluff area, then we're going to go down, check out another bluff, come back, then do the brown jays. We're going first bluff. This will be a good look over the Rio, and we have an opportunity for a lot of cool species here.
The bluff provided a fantastic view of the Rio Grande and Mexico on the other side. Here, our guide Simon quickly spotted the bare-throated tiger heron tucked into the reeds.
We got the backside of bare-throated tiger heron down there too, so we're waiting for it to maybe come out and sun itself so we can actually see it, but it's like everything's waking up and Mexico's right there, and it's a wild place for sure.
Good way to start the trip, isn't it?
Good way to start the trip, bare-throated tiger heron.
We surveyed the river below, watching various species fly by as the sun continued to get higher in the sky. Some of the most notable species we saw here were ringed kingfisher, a limpkin, and various raptors perching in the trees.
So right now we're at our first bluff stop, and this place is just absolutely incredible. The view over the Rio, and you can see stuff flying through, working the shoreline, flying off in the distance. You can see the US side and the Mexico side. So we had the back of the bare-throated tiger heron. Some brown jays flew up. Ryan and I didn't get to see them, but it's good that they're in the area, so hopefully they will come to the feeding station later. But what a great way to start the trip and the morning.
A little while later, the brown jays made another appearance, and this time, we actually got to see them.
We just had the brown jays come in closer, be right next to us, and then fly past us. So those are incredible views of those. Hopefully we get them down at the feeder. They said normally if we see them here, we won't see them down there, but you never know. But can't be upset with that. That was awesome.
Brown jays can be identified by their brown back and head, long dark tail, and light-colored underside. These birds are native to Central America and eastern Mexico. In the United States, the only places they are ever found are in the most southern parts of Texas, making them an extremely desirable species to see. This group of 4 birds had been seen on the ranch for some time now, and have been a major draw for visiting birders.
Brown jays were actually admittedly way cooler than I thought they'd be. I was excited to try to see them, but actually getting a look at them and just how they behave so similar to the other jay species and how massive they are, and actually how pretty with the brown back and the white on the underside. It was a really special species to see, and especially cool how they actually came closer. And this is literally basically the only place that you can get them in the United States to my knowledge, so what an epic encounter.
We moved down to a slightly lower bluff, giving us a different view of some of the birds in the water.
We're here at the second bluff site, so we're a little closer to the river. We're scanning the cane for Seedeater. There's some flyover stuff. We had a ringed kingfisher, but there's a lot of anticipation to hopefully get better views of the rare stuff and to see some of these other rare things we're waiting on.
In addition to the birds flying by, species like Altamira orioles and northern cardinals were also present, along with more waterfowl constantly coming and going. One bird we were extremely excited for was a Muscovy duck. Commonly seen as domestic birds on farms, they are a rare species to see in the wild.
This has turned into a pretty epic day.
I know, and we're just getting started too. I was hoping for Muscovy, but it definitely wasn't like a sure thing by any means.
The whole time we were watching for new birds, we were keeping an eye on the tiger heron that eventually did move slightly more into the open.
So we just had the tiger heron eating a fish obscured by branches, but we definitely got the throat and more of the ID features. It is very bittern-like in there right now. So that one we got. Hopefully we'll get some better views later.
After a great first stop at the bluffs, we moved on to a different part of the ranch.
So we're leaving the bluffs and going to the riparian zone. So hopefully we'll be able to have a better view of the tiger heron. Maybe the brown jays will come back. We'll see what else we can find there.
We got back to our cars, but before heading to the next spot, it was time for snacks.
Just got done with our walk, and Simon got us some snacks. So we're gonna fuel up, and then we're gonna hit a different part of the ranch.
Feeling great so far. I mean, can't ask for much better than tiger heron, Muscovy duck, and brown jays. So now yeah, you like the shirt? You like this? If you guys want one, we have them on our shop for the valley. If I made a new one and could have a tiger heron on it, that'd be cool. But excited to see what else we can find.
Feeling energized and ready to go, we drove to the next spot on the ranch.
What was your favorite thing we saw so far?
I don't know. Muscovy duck is so cool because I've never seen a wild one. I've seen so many feral domestic ones. If I hadn't seen the tiger heron or brown jays before, it'd definitely be one of those. But since I have, honestly, I think it's been the Muscovy duck.
We started walking to our next location. Along the way, we found a Buick's wren, an indigo bunting, and a greater roadrunner that was sitting up surprisingly conspicuously. We continued walking, spotting a valley rarity, the Rose-throated Becard, flying back and forth on the trail. After getting some views of this interesting species, we arrived at a feeding station, where Simon placed food to bring in more birds.
So Simon just put the fruit out. Already a ton of stuff is coming in. We had some nice views of Rose-throated Becard, although the media we got was pretty obscured by branches, but we did get to see them really well, so that was good. We're gonna go see if we can get better views of the tiger heron, and then come back, see if the brown jays are here. But it's awesome to just have all this stuff out. There's also some marshmallows in there too. But to see the woodpeckers, the orioles, and the green jays, really neat.
We left the feeders and moved farther down the trail, headed toward the place where the tiger heron was hanging out. Along the way, we found an interesting insect.
Stopped to take a peek at some of these Texas leafcutter ants, and it's really neat to watch them carrying those leaves because it's something you see in like Amazonian documentaries. So to see it in the southern U.S. is really awesome.
After watching the ants for a while, we continued our quest to get a closer look at the bare-throated tiger heron. We went through an area close to the river with tall grasses that lined the water. We ended up just across the river from the tiger heron, which sat out in the open, taking in the sun.
Bare-throated tiger heron right across the Rio in Mexico, visible from the U.S.
As far as herons go, the bare-throated tiger heron is somewhat extravagant looking. Named for their featherless throat showing yellow skin, they also sport a dark crown, a brown, white, and black striped neck, and an overall grayish coloration. Up close, their feathers show barring, giving them a complex-looking striped pattern. Bare-throated tiger herons are typically found in northern South America, Central America, and Mexico. Very few of these birds make it into the United States, making this particular bird one of the most sought-after rarities in the country.
Got some better views of the tiger heron at the banks of the Rio, so that was an awesome place to be able to be right across from it.
After getting nice, prolonged views of this rare bird, we started making our way back to the entrance to the property, but along the way, we encountered more interesting species.
Along the river has been a really cool place. We've had a green kingfisher following us a little bit, fishing, giving us really nice views, yellow-bellied sapsucker. We're just going to keep walking along, looking out for Morelet Seedeater in particular, but really anything we can find is cool.
After checking out the feeding station yet again, and finishing the rest of our walk back, we ended the day session at Santa Margarita Ranch.
That's going to conclude our day session of Santa Margarita Ranch, but we will be back tonight to see if we can get another rare species.
Before leaving, we caught up with our guide Simon to talk with him about what makes the ranch such a great place for birders.
This place is special because it hasn't been touched for years. There's great examples of Chihuahuan Desert here in Stark County, which is a really unique ecosystem. We've got 30 million year old oyster beds, which creates the perfect geological space for a lot of these rare cacti and a lot of other rare plants that are out here. We've got ranches that also attract a lot of these other different species. So we've got this interesting juxtaposition of the gallery forests along the river. We've got desert habitat, we've got ranch habitat, and that really brings all of these birds together. And the landowners here have done a great job over the last 4 decades now of kind of preserving this and not plowing it down, not getting rid of it. And right now, the bird watchers out here are the reason why that's going to continue. They're realizing that this is ecotourism at its finest, and people are coming here to see these rare birds. They're making money. They're profiting off of this, which is great. And here, when we're talking about the ranch lands that these people live on, they depend on these ranch lands. This is how they make their living. And so if they're not making money off of ecotourism, they're going to plow it down. They're going to put more cows out here because that's going to make them more money. So as long as we have birders coming down here, telling them how much they appreciate, allowing us to come out here, and as long as they're able to make enough money to where it's justifiable to have people out here watching birds rather than chopping down the habitat to put more cows or pigs or whatever they're going to put out here. As long as that continues, we're going to have this really beautiful property, hopefully open to the public for years to come.
After dark, we returned to the ranch in hopes of finding one of the most sought-after rarities in the Rio Grande Valley.
Back at Santa Margarita Ranch for the night session, hoping for a mottled owl. That's the big ticket item. And I would also like some of the night jars in this area too. That'd be pretty cool. Taking in the nighttime border wall, which has a little eerie vibe, but man, what a neat experience.
A group consisting of many of the same birders from the day session at the ranch assembled next to the border wall yet again. After getting instructions on what to expect on the tour, we started walking to the spot where the owl usually spends its time. We went through the gate in the wall into another section of the property where we found our first owl species, a great horned, barely visible on the wall.
Owl on the board.
We got a blob. So from this point on, we're going to be silent, no talking, as we go into the darkness to hopefully come out with a mottled owl.
Passing through the last light before the property descended into darkness, we had to keep quiet and couldn't film much. During this time, we heard some common parakeets and a few other birds, but overall the night was quiet. After trying different nocturnal bird calls to elicit a response and moving to different locations, we started to worry that the mottled owl would be a no-show, until all of a sudden, it made an appearance. Feeling a wave of relief after getting to see the mottled owl, the group of us, now unburdened with the fear of missing our target species, started making our way back the way we came. It seemed like bird activity picked up a bit during this time, as we spotted an osprey, a great kiskadee, and an eastern screech owl, which was very exciting to see as it surveyed the night. Eventually, we made it back to the border wall where we could talk about our experience.
How do you like that mottled owl experience?
We got it. It was making us nervous because we were listening and not hearing anything, and then we eventually went to a different spot and then it popped out. So it was like such a relief and so cool to see. It was like right in front of us too.
After the tour was over, we talked with our guide, Zach, about the unique opportunities afforded by the night tours.
Tonight, most of the birds that we got, you can't really get unless you go out at night. And Texas is so private that it's not easy to go somewhere that you could just go to the local patch of woods and get a screech owl. But we organize these tours throughout the deeper parts of the ranch that are still very wild and untouched. So the big draw tonight was the mottled owl, which they're found in the mountains that you could see from the ranch. And it just so happened that there was a big drought in Mexico this year, and even the United States, but the drought must have pushed it up, or some sort of environmental factor pushed it up, and it just happened to find the ranch, and it thought it was good habitat, and it just stuck around, and it's been here. We've known it to be here for about 3 months or so, but who knows how long it's been here before that. And we're fortunate enough to be able to offer these tours so people could actually get this bird to be accessible for their lists, which is really important for whoever wants to count ABA birds. Because if you want to see it, you could just go to Mexico and get a few $100 plane ticket and fly down there. But if you want it for the ABA, you have to come here, and we've made it so it's accessible for everybody to see.
Our trip to the ranch was extremely fun, and we were happy to be able to see each of the target birds we were hoping for. Only time will tell if the Santa Margarita Ranch will continue to draw in rare birds, but if it does, it will continue to be a major destination for birders looking to add to their life lists and have an amazing experience in the process. If you want to book a tour at the Santa Margarita Ranch, you can check out their Facebook page or send them an email at santamargaritatxranch@gmail.com. Links to both are in the description below. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.